Game developers, what is something gamers on the internet always claim to be easy to do or fix, when in reality it's a real pain in the ass? From experience, those bugs that we have no idea how to reproduce are the worst. People can only give vague descriptions like it just stopped like that, and then you spend hours unsuccessfully trying to have the same issue. It doesn't work. Goddamn. There is a reason me writing bug reports has picked up since I did support. I realized people are plain unable to write bug reports. It's a true miracle that Subnautica didn't get pebcacked with their bug reporting system. I had a bipolar boss once ask how long it would take to fix a newly discovered bug. I told him I had no idea, as we just learned about it. Once we can track it down and figure out what's causing a bug, then I can give you an estimate on how long to fix. He wasn't happy. He said other developers always told him how long to fix it. I told him they were lying, because immediately after a typical bug is found, it's an unknown on what's causing it, and until that can be tracked down, it's basically impossible to know how long to fix when you don't know what's causing it. Fuck you, Peter. And then when they force out a crude unreliable estimate out of you, they treat it like a goddamn constitution. Definitely fuck Peter. The craft of game design is mostly invisible, despite what all those game design review YouTubers would tell you. Putting a game together is a million microscopic little things that nobody would ever realize. For example, yesterday I added a HUD display for the user's coin count. However, the game has a multiplier feature so that each coin you collect might actually be worth 2 coins, or 5 coins, or 100, or 43,584 coins. I wanted a nice little thing where instead of the HUD tally changing instantly, it would rapidly count up, so if you got 5 coins you'd see the counter go BRRRR and add all the numbers on one after the other. Smile. Except the speed that makes this look nice for 5 coins doesn't work when you just got 463,337 coins. I tested it and I had to wait over a minute for the HUD counter to catch up to the correct coin tally, totally unusable. So it has to change the speed that it does the little count up animation based on how many coins you just got. So I wrote some code that dynamically increases the speed of the count up proportionally with larger numbers. That's just for a damn coin counter that nobody will ever look at twice. No game design YouTuber is going to point that out. No gamer will ever notice. But you'd notice if it was wrong. That game development. Kinda like being a sound guy. Trust me, some people notice. The first thing everyone notices is graphics, but by God, if the game has great audio it gets a billion times better just from it. Just take into account some Fallout NV vaults. The graphics aren't great to 202x standard, but the sound design in some entirely tells a story on his own. Reminds me of that famous quote by God in Futurama. When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all. When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all. When I used to work corporate IT, this was posted in cricket letters above the doorway. Convincing managers something is worth the effort. Those who don't actually make games or know how they're made somehow make all the big decisions. FML, this. People who barely know how to use a mouse and keyboard somehow making UX decisions. Story of my miserable dev life. FML, where I work I have account managers who have literally zero tech knowledge spec client servers. It's insane. We take the bullshit from the customer about poor performance. These clients have turnovers of PS50M plus and are 100% dependent on them. Insane. See, the current state of Elite Dangerous. The actual coders are brilliant. Even in alpha, the Odyssey expansion itself was rock solid. It's the gameplay decisions on top of the code over the last 6 years that seem like they were consistently made by people who have never played video games in their lives. If you make gameplay decisions, In any long-term game really, it should be mandatory to have a minimum number of logged hours playing the game every week. It should be just as important as showing up, with serious consequences for not meeting the quota. You should be so sick of playing the game that your eyes bleed. That's how you find out what parts of your game are boring or nonsensical, and need to be changed. Played ED for some time. The whole space exploration was interesting, but the whole game was unnecessarily complicated and tutorials don't teach you half things they should. Playing EVE Online for 10 years and it's full of terrible UI designs, a consequence of being able to play EVE without ever doing activities like planetary industry, that devs obviously never tried because it's unfun. Hackers, desync, physics. Network play in video games is a fucking marvel. People have no idea how complex it really is managing state between client and server, broadcasting updates between clients, keeping the game synchronized, dealing with latency and lost packets, etc. The more I study computer science, the more I don't understand how anything even works, tbh. Detecting hackers is an easy task. Just check if their username starts or ends with XXX. Pussy Slayer FR0MH3LLXXX would like a word. Server maintenance, and the unforeseen delays on getting the servers back up on time. Along with any number of reasons this gets delayed, specifically replies to people saying shouldn't they have tested for this stuff ! 1. That sentence was thrown around a lot during the New World beta. That's the point of the beta, to test the backend servers to make sure they work well. No, people want a working game even in a beta phase. Alpha is the new beta phase. Optimizing. I use the quotation marks because I feel like most people don't really understand what optimizing is. It's the process where the lorry transforms into the robot. I think that's because the problem isn't bounded in any way. Some bugs you can fix and then look at and say yup, that's fixed. But you can optimize until the sun goes cold if you're not careful. It also gets messy when using a game engine. Sometimes the developer's intention just doesn't match with the capabilities the game engine offers, and optimizing that is either not allowed on the game engine or requires game engine development skills which differ from game development skills. Sometimes the best optimization is to remake the game on a better engine, but that's not financially possible, so game devs are stuck looking how to better make their existing abomination slightly faster. But not using a game engine is a very bad idea except for specific use cases where the person is sure existing game engines can't handle the type of game they want, and even then they are probably going to get stuck in game engine development and never make their actual game. Pretty much everything you can imagine, as even if the change itself is simple, it's constrained by dependent systems and content. If I change jump height, any levels that have already been made with the old height in mind may have to be remade. If I change how crafting works, the inventory system may need a revision. If I add a govern mechanic, all levels must now be updated with cover objects, and AI needs to be updated to know what cover and cover objects means. If I add a third-person camera perspective to an FPS, each action that is animated in first person has to be reviewed for how it works in third person. Also, the levels have to be updated because the camera can now exist outside of the player character. If I change the speed at which the player character moves, level streaming may need an adjustment, and if the bottleneck is hardware speed, I may need to compromise on audio-visual fidelity instead. If my game uses FMV cutscenes, content design might be forced by what happens in those cutscenes, if it's not in the budget to render them again as the design changes. Games are houses of cards more often than not. If I change the speed at which the player character moves, level streaming may need an adjustment, and if the bottleneck is hardware speed, I may need to compromise on audio-visual fidelity instead. One of my favorite stories regarding this is during playtesting on the original Borderlands, and players requested the character ran quicker. What they ended up doing was added more detail to the ground, like rocks and scrubs of grass. These things whizzing past while running gave the illusion of higher speed, and when given back to the playtesters they said it was a lot better. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this one.